Are we rolling?
We're rolling.
All right, welcome back to another episode of the Dudecast. I'm Nick.
I'm JD.
Let's roll some intro music. And we're back.
Hey.
So, I wanted to talk about doing it. Not in a dirty sense, although I'm sure we could fill a podcast.
I'm sure it would do fantastic.
I bet you it would.
You know,
I don't know, man. Like two middle-aged
I don't know if
dudes.
we make the title "Doing It."
Yeah.
On the Dudecast, I don't know. I mean, it could go 100 different ways.
I guess. But I mean more in terms of stuff, whether it's work, whether it's creative projects. I think creative projects is kind of where our heads are both at in general. But I'm just going to say it. The biggest hurdle I think most people have to overcome is starting.
Yeah, I would agree.
People get mired in, well, how do I do it? And I don't have the right equipment, and I don't have any money right now to buy the right equipment.
Well, people are looking for the perfect storm.
Right.
Well,
actually, I don't understand what you mean.
Well, right. I'm confused now.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
So they're looking for the perfect storm of circumstances, right? Like, I have all this top end equipment. The circumstances are perfect. The lighting's perfect. Everything's perfect. Everything's falling. They want everything to be perfect.
Right.
They want to run a multi-million. If you're doing film, they want a multi-million-dollar film facility and all that kind of stuff. And it's just simply not going to ever happen like that. There's always excuses to be had, and I think sometimes people use that as a crutch, right? So they'll I don't want to do it because it's not going to be perfect,
right? And
I think perfect stifles creativity in a sense.
100%. There's the old adage from my music training days, right? Like the mix is never done.
Yeah,
literally.
Yeah,
you could talk to any professional musician or any professional mixer. I've got friends that are like high level studio producers and mixers, and you talk to them and they still listen to their recordings going, I wish I'd tweaked that snare a little more. And 20 years on multi-million-dollar records. I'm talking like big names. Like, I don't want to do the whole name drop thing because whatever. But and I'm like, but that record is like, it blows my mind. Are you kidding me? It's one of the best records. Like, it's in everybody's top 10 list kind of thing, right? When you talk about hard rock, and I'm like, that's like the Bible for what you want to mix to sound like. Yeah, I know, but I didn't really like the snare, and the cymbals were a little too loud. You know what I mean?
That is a quality that is something that number one, it's kind of a thorn in any artist's side.
Of course.
But it's a good thing. I think it's a good thing, because the moment that you sit back and say, yeah, I produced the best fucking album of all time. Yeah. Nobody will ever top it. I am the god of rock.
Yeah.
You're done.
Right. Absolutely.
You're going to get left behind. The fact that you want to make it better, or there's things that you feel that you can improve, that constant drive to improve things.
Right.
That's a good quality,
absolutely, 100%.
Right? But again, it can be a thorn in your side, because if you listen to that side too much, that album never comes out.
The album never comes out, exactly.
You'll be like Tool.
Or Chinese Democracy, right? With whatever, the Guns N' Roses. Well, it was, really, what's his name?
Axl Rose.
Axl with, a bunch of studio guys. But, you can't let that stop you from starting. Yeah. Right? My biggest thing, and I've always said this to people, when and if they ask me for advice about like music stuff or whatever, and I'm just like, just sit down and write. Yeah. Just do it. Well, but I don't know how. Well, figure it out. Yeah. Well, what do you mean?
You're gonna make mistakes.
I don't know. You're gonna make mistakes. I once listened to. I sat down and there was like a master songwriting workshop when I was at Berkeley with Stevie Wonder, and he talked about how when he was starting and coming up, and of course he's obviously like a talent beyond talent, but he started working in studios and learning from Motown guys when he was like in his early teens. But by the time he was, I don't remember whatever he said, but he was writing. He got to a point where he was writing 5 songs every day.
That's amazing.
Amazing. And most of these songs, and he said himself, most of it was garbage.
Yeah.
but it's the act of creating and the act of doing it again and again and again and again. And, you know, like that first day, those 5 songs, maybe they're all garbage, but there was a kernel of something really good in number 3. Yeah. And then you rework it on day 2 and it gets better. And then you rework it on day 3. You know what I mean? Like, so even though you're maybe not creating all new, and maybe he was, I don't know, because I'm, you know, not in his head, but 5 songs a day. So if you think about that, like, how many songs has that dude written? Because he's had 20 some odd albums that are like top platinum selling albums with like 10 songs, and every single song is brilliant. Yeah. So how much crap did he write?
Yeah, it's a good question.
You know, and the same with filming.
Well, look at Prince. Let's take Prince, for example.
Right, okay.
I don't know if you saw the photos, like they showed photos of his
No, I haven't seen them.
You know, and it shows like there are tapes and tapes and tapes and tapes and tapes upon tapes upon tapes upon, you know,
right, like the vault, basically,
and then some
right?
tapes. They kind of go on.
Lordy, I hope there are tapes.
You know, and you know, it's kind of. And if you listen to Kevin Smith, if you listen to him and his whole interaction,
I remember
with Prince,
the story.
right?
Yeah,
and he makes a music video that never sees the light of day.
Yep.
So I mean, or the video, because it changed, you know, sort of
right,
you know,
whatever
midway
happens
through.
To be,
you know? So you know, ultimately at the end of the day, these guys are creating all the time, and I guarantee you, there's some colossal flops in there. I mean,
for sure.
Everybody has them. I mean, you know, even myself. Like, I mean, you know, God bless my wife for being a good grounding pole for me, because I have, like, I always say, I have like 100 bad ideas a day.
Right.
Hundreds of them. Like, you know, it's like, this sounds like the best idea in the world. My wife's like, you're an idiot. You know? And every once in a while, like, I'll just go and be an idiot. And sometimes she'll be like, I didn't think that would work. And somehow you made it work. Right. You know, but, you know, it's one of those things. It's always a process. It's always, you know, you've got to go and do those things. You know, if you just never do it, if you say, I'm going to sit here and create a list of the things that I have to do, and that's as far as you're going to go, like, it's not going to get you where you need to be. Yeah. You know, even, you know, just as an example myself, like, I mean, I had a video that went viral last year. It is not by any stretch my best work or even close to it. Right. But I just made it in, you know, 10 minutes or 15 minutes, and you just throw it out there, because sometimes these things gain traction. Right. And you learn from it, right?
Lightning in a bottle, right?
You know, you'll learn from those things. That's the truth of the matter. You'll learn some individual lessons from, you know, that experience, whatever they are. I mean, I learned things from the Go Small. There's things that I would probably do different, you know, the next time around. For sure. There's some things that, you know, I would do the same, and, you know, there's some things I wouldn't even try at all. It's just, you know, that's how it is. And, you know, the next time that kind of opportunity presents itself, I'll probably do it better. Right. You know?
Yeah, of course.
You know?
Well, yeah, exactly. The act of creating, the act of doing makes you better at the act of doing and creating. Yeah. And you're going to get better and better and better at it until finally it comes out, and it's every time is, if not gold, pretty close to gold. Yeah. Right. And I mean, who knows, maybe you'll never achieve it, but if you don't start somehow, right? The journey of 1,000 miles starts with one step. Yeah. And it's so important to just do it, like, no matter what limitation you have. And I mean, if you think about some of the best, you know, most enduring, like, movie and or TV. So here's an example, TV show stuff, Star Trek. Yeah. The original series, when Gene Roddenberry pitched it to Paramount or Warner or CBS, whoever, they all said no. Yeah. Lucille Ball, whatever her production company, Desilu Productions, said yes. So awesome. Okay, cool. Somebody saw the potential. But when they were filming and beginning the series, they didn't have the budget that they really had wanted to be able to create, like, all of the miniatures and all of the sets for the landing craft, like the shuttlecraft. So they had to figure out, well, how are we going to get these space explorers from the bridge of the Enterprise to this planet? Hence, the transporter was born. Completely out of need, because they didn't have the money to build any more sets. Right. Like, it's just crazy. So, and if they had not, and I mean, obviously, you know, they'd already started and they were already moving down that path, but like that mother of invention.
And people love that shit. They love the transporter. They love
absolutely.
You know.
I'm a huge Trekker. I love Star Trek. And that's a whole other podcast, honestly. But, you know, whatever it happens to be, hit songs. Yeah. You know, you look at Crazy Little Thing Called Love by Queen, right? Bohemian Rhapsody. It doesn't appear in that movie, but that song was a Freddie song that he wrote in his bathtub, apparently. I don't know, because I don't know him, but Brian Mays told the story. He was like, he was singing in the bathtub one day, came to the studio and said, hey guys, I got this song, played it for him on guitar, and they were like, cool, let's do it. And they recorded it in whatever 20 minutes, and boom, that's it.
Yeah.
Great song. You know, it hit number 1 or something in the charts in the US. It didn't chart in England, but whatever. But these moments of brilliance.
Yeah.
You got to start it somehow.
It's going to happen, right?
Yeah.
And like I said, I mean, you know, your failures are going to make you better. And
right.
I think, you know, a big part of it is that, I mean, your ego is what's holding you back. Because
100%.
a lot of people don't want to put themselves, especially being a creative, they don't want to create something and then people look at it and go, you know what, that's garbage.
Right.
And it happens, you know.
100%.
You know, I look at, you know, whether it's tattoos or paintings or whatever I've done, like, it's like, whew. And I thought that was good,
right?
You know, at that point. But again, it comes back to, you know, sort of your rock album producer. If you are at the top of the game, even, you should be looking to be better than you were. You know, I want to be better tomorrow than I am today.
Right.
And if I'm able to accomplish that, that's a success.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
That's life. You know, it's continually building. I mean, you know, your skill set as you sort of go through life will continually evolve and improve, and you know.
Yeah.
You know, there's things that you'll, you know, develop and become better at, and there's some things, you know,
that you're not.
Yeah.
You know, it's interesting though too, because if you look back, and I mean, again, bringing up Vaynerchuk, but his big thing is just start from where you are. You've got everything you need right in your pocket in your smartphone.
Yeah.
You know, if we're talking in terms of like YouTube creation or like even music creation, because you get GarageBand for free.
Yeah.
For music. But start with what you've got. It's not going to be a multi-million-dollar record.
Yeah.
It's not going to be a multi-million-dollar Marvel movie, but you know, it's going to be something, and people enjoy the process. I think too many people get caught up in the perfection. I want it to be perfect. So as you said, they use it as a crutch.
Yeah.
I don't have the right materials. I don't have the right location. I don't have the right equipment. I don't have the right star. I don't have the right whatever. But I think people can and do fall in love with you as a person, as a brand, as a person on the screen talking, and all of your faults just as much as they do, or maybe more, than your brilliant content.
Right. And I think that's kind of, you know, evolved, you know, things like reality TV, people like real people instead of, you know, characters, fake actors, and actors and all those kind of things. And it's interesting. Like, I mean, if you look at, like I said, you know, what you would say are, you know, you could say are failures, and even guys like Gary Vee or guys like Jared Polin. Jared Polin's actually funny. If you look, he put out one of the first videos that he ever made. That never made it on YouTube. He ultimately put it out.
Right.
And I mean, he was terrible, but he went through the whole thing. He positioned himself in a camera store to have access to equipment that he couldn't afford.
Right.
So he could talk about it, so he could borrow it, and he did it in the camera store.
Okay.
You know, kind of said, hey, you know, I'll do these videos. I'll mention the camera store. So they helped him out. I mean, that's just smart. Like, it's just, you know
figuring
he
out
wasn't
ways to do it.
successful at the beginning, but he built into where he was. Same with Gary Vee. You know, Gary Vee, it's funny, you know, everybody just thinks that he just appeared. You know, he was one of the guys that was first on YouTube, and he was doing, you know, sort of a wine talk,
reviews,
for his parents, and those things are abysmal.
It's funny because I remember back in the early days, like 2005, 2006, watching videos, and I'm pretty sure I came across one of his videos because it was like wine talk or something, and I was like, this is her, and I skipped it.
Yeah,
of course, because I mean, I wasn't interested.
He'll
in that
tell
content,
you they did not have. I mean, they get a lot more views now because of who he is, and obviously people going back and taking a look. That's kind of thing when you become famous and your
back catalog,
your sordid past, you know, becomes, you know, hot topic, right? So, but you know, again, it goes to show you that, you know, it's you fail. Like to him, you know, in a sense, he failed. I mean, that business succeeded in other ways, his parents' wine business and all that kind of stuff, and helped him, you know, get to where he is. But he put in the work, and I mean, it's, you know, through that sort of trial and error and going and, you know, trudging through the trenches that gets you there. But if he had never done that, he wouldn't have learned. Like, I guarantee you there's 100 different things that he learned in making those crappy different videos that got him to the head of VaynerMedia and positioning where he is. And that's just, you know, the reality of it. But if you don't take those steps, you're not going to get there. And furthermore to that is, if you continue to delay it, you know, if I say, Nick, let's not do the podcast till next week.
Right.
I can't do it next week. Let's do it the week after. Let's do it the week after that. Then 6 months are gone.
Yep.
What opportunities have you lost in that 6 months time? Where if you just went ahead and did it,
yep,
what could have come out of that? You know,
right?
who would you have run into? Who would have you caught the ear of? All those kind of things. Those steps are so important. And like I said, I mean, like, to be honest, we're not very polished at this point. I mean, if you look, we've got, a white backdrop that I use for photography, for studio stuff. We're sitting at the old, Lloyd and JD desk, and, it's there. I mean, we're miles ahead of where Lloyd and JD was at that point when I started that. Sure. But I mean, it's, you got to take those steps, and it'll develop along the way, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And that's kind of my point. If you don't start, you'll never gain momentum.
Well, yeah, you've got to have that nebulous idea, the kernel, the nugget, the whatever it is, and then it's embryonic for a little while. Yeah. And part of those first episodes, the first installments, the first drawings, the first music, whatever, you have to accept it's going to be shit. There's a cool book I'm reading right now. It's called The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. Yeah. It's really cool. It doesn't necessarily address the creative issue of like, I don't know how to start because and that freezes you. But it talks a lot about just let it go, man. Like, whatever, like, cool. And I think we need a little bit more of that, because there's this, and I don't know for sure, but I feel like it's a product of school almost, right? Because you have to get the test right. You have to get the high score. You have to prep. You have to practice. You have to get perfect. Yeah. Before you can graduate or whatever, or your parents are proud of you. I don't know. It's weird, but I feel like we're kind of programmed into this mode of thought in North America, I would say worldwide, but like the education system of modern times has taught us that we have to focus and prepare and get everything right. And it's not the process doesn't matter. It's the result. Right. But I think it's actually the opposite. Yeah.
I think it depends on what it is.
I suppose, but if you...
if you're mixing explosives, getting it right is very important.
Well, yes, okay, so there are extremes, obviously, right?
But, again, we're not talking about, hardcore science here. We're talking about, creative
stuff, or even entrepreneurial stuff. I think if you look at, and we can talk about Gary Vee, but we should just turn this into the Gary Vee worship podcast.
It's funny, like, but I like Gary, but I don't worship Gary. No. I mean, if you like, I sat down once with Scott Bennett from The Path Less Traveled, and we talked about his book. And Scott will tell you, because we talk a fair bit, and he's a huge fan of Gary Vee. I like what Gary Vee has to say. Yeah. I don't think it's rocket science. I don't think he's saying anything. And it's funny because Scott will say, like, you tell me this stuff all the time. And, it's just kind of like, I just don't, spin it quite the way that he does, but that's his brand. That's what he's doing. Yeah, I mean, he's really selling you. I mean, he runs a media company and a social media company. He's got to tell you that he knows everything about social media, because you're not going to go to him as a client to run your social media if he's
not an expert. Absolutely.
Right,
but I would wager if you go to any top level executive, I mean, you look at your Richard Bransons, you look at your Mr. Wonderful from CBC's Dragon Den. Yeah. You look at Jim Treliving, right? Massive billionaire in Canada who runs arguably the largest restaurant chain in Canada. Yeah. And one of the largest.
And really didn't start till later in life.
And didn't start till later in life. But I bet you he will tell you about all the failures that he had and all of the roadblocks that he had to figure out and get out of and fix to get better, to get to where he is now. Yeah. And if it wasn't for those failures and things that just like the non-starters, he wouldn't have what he's got now.
Yeah. Because Jim was a cop. So
he was an RCMP officer.
Yeah. So I mean, it was just one of those things. One of those, I need a side, and look where his sides went.
Yeah, I need a little bit of I need a hustle. I need something else, right? To make a little extra money. I met him actually, probably 5 years ago, maybe 6 years ago when I first moved to Calgary. He was doing a book signing down in the core at like Indigo or Chapters, like right in the core mall there. He smells really good. Yeah. He's big too. Like you figure, like when you watch TV, you're like, oh yeah, he's a big dude. He's big. Yeah. Like I'm not super tall, but like I'm, average height or whatever. And I was like, nice to meet you, Mr. Treliving. You know what I mean? Like, and his hands were like huge, but really nice guy, and smelled really, like, you can tell, like he's, he's very successful, lots of money, and like, just like, whatever, but pretty cool. I know that's a weird thing to say, right?
That's okay. Nobody's going to judge you. They might. I'm not going to.
I don't give a fuck. I like it when people smell good. Men, women, they, them, whatever. It's all good.
I don't smell much, so I don't get that.
Do you have a smelling disorder?
I had my nose cauterized.
Oh, really?
From fighting, right? You get punched in the face, and then they stick, hot stuff up your nose, and burn your nostrils and then you don't smell the same. So I mean, I do smell. It just has to be strong, right? And usually at that point, it's like most people are like, "Oh my god," so it's, you know,
put the paint roller.
So I'll never be a top chef by any sorts, you know.
Fair. Well, that's another. Sorry, and I rehash, but there's another one, right? Chefs, the same thing. You think that they got the Michelin star 4-star plate right away? No, it took months, maybe years of failing before they were able to give you that.
And there's a
plate.
Huge amount of passion that goes into that. And I mean, a huge, like, I mean, you look at, all these guys, these TV chefs, like you look at what they're talking about, what they know their stuff. They know their ingredients. They know it's like, that takes time and cooking on an ongoing basis and understanding your ingredients. And I mean, a lot of people that are high level at whatever they do, they understand more than just what they're doing. They understand, a good range around it.
For sure.
I guarantee you, they're into going to farms and checking out how they do and how they raise their livestock because it makes a difference in the taste at the end.
Yeah, absolutely. I just watched actually an interesting documentary about a Michelin-rated, the only 3-star Michelin-rated restaurant in Las Vegas, and I can't remember the name of it, so I'm not going to give it a plug. But their head chef, they were interviewing him and talking to him about the process and whatever else. So they had white truffles that were coming in from Italy. So these are high-end, very expensive. And he's talking about it going, I know these aren't going to be very good because it's 15 degrees in Italy right now.
Yeah.
What? And so they bake the dish, they shave it on, and he's like, yep, that's crap. We got to wait till next week. We're not going to serve that.
Yeah.
How many hundreds, if not thousands of dollars did they just spend on this basket of mushrooms or what do you call it? The truffles. And they're going to throw them away or whatever they're going to do with them. But it's like, it's not right. It's not perfect. Whereas you or I would be like, yep, that's a truffle. Yeah. Right on. Cool.
And most people eating it would be like, this is amazing.
Yeah.
Right.
But it's that dedication. It's the passion. It's the road or the seeking perfection.
Yeah.
I think is better than the perfection itself.
Right.
Right, because once you attain,
that's more to the end of the journey, though, right?
Right. Oh yeah, no, of course you're not going to start. With that.
And I think sometimes speaking of that is the stumbling block for people as well, as they expect my first thing is going to make me famous
and millions of dollars,
and it's that happens every once in a while.
Sure,
but the vast majority of people know. Like, I mean, you talk to any celebrity, you talk to any musician, you talk to any artist, and they will tell you, it's like, I worked in this crappy diner, I served this, I did that, I did this on weekends, I took this crappy part, I just happened to run into this guy, and then next thing you know, we kind of, we hit it off, and then we went this route, or I did it all myself, and then, finally got the recognition, and, it's all these crazy stories, but we tend to forget those.
We forget the struggle.
Yeah.
Well, and it gets back to that. If you're not doing it for the love, then you're in it for the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
Because chances are very great that you're never going to get to the star status.
Yeah.
Right. So if you're not creating it, whatever your thing is, whatever your milieu, if you're not creating it because you have to, because you feel it in your heart and you need to, like, if I can't write music, shoot me, I'm done.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. But there's nothing wrong with being a journeyman either. And I think people fail to recognize that as well.
Yeah.
Right?
But I just mean like the act of creating and writing music and doing that. Like if I couldn't, then it wouldn't be any good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like my life wouldn't be any good. To sort of finish that or sum up the thought, I think my point is that if you're doing it with the intent of becoming a star or becoming a millionaire or that expectation is I'm going to be famous or whatever it is, I think that's the wrong point.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Like you have to enjoy creating the content. You have to feel a need somewhere in you to say something.
Yeah.
Whatever it happens to be and whatever, even if it's finger painting, like whatever, if that's what you're doing, you're doing it because it's an outlet and you have to get that out. You have to express yourself. And if you're doing it because you want to become famous, then you're going to compromise or you may not even have that desire to express yourself in that way. So part of it, I would say also would be like to recognize that, step back and go, well, am I actually doing this because I want to and I love it?
Yeah.
And if the answer is no, then maybe take a minute and go, well, this isn't my thing. And that's okay.
Yeah.
Whether it's cooking or audio or YouTube videos or whatever it happens to be.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm the worst. I hate editing and I'm horrible at it. I'm not gonna spend time trying to get better, and that might be a stumbling block for me. I love editing
and I'm decent at it, but I'll be honest. Like when I do YouTube videos, man, I do a shitty job. You know, it's because I know. You know,
right?
I'm just doing it because it's more the process of going out and doing things that I'm uncomfortable with, like vlogging, than doing anything else. And I don't feel the need to have some top end production. And I think, you know, it's a trapping for a lot of people. There's nothing wrong with being a journeyman.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with, you know, producing content that's not going to be a number one chart hitter, but you know, that people will consume and enjoy.
For sure.
Right. And know sort of where you land on that scale. I mean, it's not bad to have those high aspirations. It's not bad not to have those high aspirations either. You know, sometimes if you can just have we'll say for lack of a better term, a hobby that you enjoy doing, you know, as a side, and you make a few bucks.
Yeah, that's a good day.
That's good.
Yeah,
that's good.
Absolutely.
You know?
It's like the PGA Tour.
Yeah.
You know, you don't have to be Tiger Woods. You don't have to be Tiger Woods. You can be good enough to get on the tour, and you can still make $200,000 a year.
Yeah.
As the last guy on the tour.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But you get to play golf every day.
Yeah.
You can be outside, enjoy the weather, play your favorite game, whatever. I mean, kind of a silly thing to say, because it's like that's a pro level sport and you got to be really good.
Yeah, and all those guys really want to win.
I know, but you know, at the end of the day, you can still make a great living being the last guy on the tour.
Sure, you can still make a great living being the golf pro on your local golf course.
Yeah,
and doing what you love. You're not Tiger Woods.
Yep.
But you're doing what you love, and you're making
and sharing your love with other people that want to love it as much as you.
Know, so there you go.
Yeah.
I think that's a good sentiment to end on.
Well, thanks for tuning in for another episode of the Dudecast. I've been Nick.
I'm JD.
And we'll see you on the next one.